Origin from reaction. This is China's Gatling missile air defense is a nightmare, but not task and purpose. Yes, another China's video. I guess China's ramping up their military defense things a lot. This is Gatling missile air defense. So Gatling air rock. Okay, that's just like too much overpowered for. Okay, I guess we're at that point now. We are just making overpowered things, right? I mean, we realize like how certain technology is like way more advanced than anything else we've been using, like how small drone warfare and small missile warfare is much more advanced than something like tanks and things, right? We have to really think about how to remake the tank from scratch just to like accommodate for it, right? Like how turtle tank or whatever that is, Russia is like makeshift doing it. For the future has to be some high-tech solution to something like that, because technology is like ramping up faster than all the mechanical vehicles and devices we can make. And obviously in air defense that is also the case with the missiles and things, but in air defense at least there is speed involved, right? So air dominance planes are usually fast and nimble, so I guess that could come into play. But yeah, one thing realize that things are not equal, right? Certain technology is much more advanced than the other ones, and that could overwhelm things. So yeah, we'll see how this one is, right? This was on Task and Purpose, great channel. Task and Purpose is great to cover a lot of things that is like new, and it just like like researches and like covers it really fast compared to others. So it's really interesting to watch videos of his. It's usually like newer things, so you get up to date and things like that. So let's watch this one.
What would happen if you took acid and crossed an A-10 Warthog with an infantry fighting vehicle? You'd get China's new Type 625E short-range air defense vehicle. This is the asset the People's Liberation Army would use to take down FPV drones, missiles, and helicopters. Not saying China stole this idea from me, but I definitely have been drawing this thing since I was in 5th grade. But is this combination of capabilities the right fit for the modern day?
That is so right, Joke, right? As a kid, what we would imagine is too overpowered thing. Apparently that is becoming reality now. There you go.
Air defense system. I want to know how this differs from the US and Russian SHORAD philosophy and how it's similar. Fire off a rotary cannon at the like and subscribe button before we get started if you want to see 2 defense videos each week. The Pentagon told me they reimburse you for any damage. On the shores of Pearl River Estuary, the Type 625 made its first debut during the November 2022 Civil Military Air Show in Zhuhai, China. If I had to guess, a lot of you feel this way about it. On our subreddit, someone commented, "Looks like a damn transformer, pretty intimidating, but it's from China, so I seriously question how well it actually works." And the first thing that obviously jumped out to me and everyone watching it was its giant 6-barrel 25mm anti-aircraft Gatling gun. She's allegedly capable of destroying UAV targets at a distance of up to 2 kilometers. The decision to put a Gatling gun instead of an autocannon is an interesting choice. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, War Thunder. If you enjoy blowing the enemy up, you'll love the world's most comprehensive vehicle combat game, period. Available now for PCs and consoles for free. Everyone has their favorite country that they like to slay as, right? Which is why War Thunder offers 10 major nations' equipments, all of their ships, and 2,500 different tanks, planes, and other vehicles from all over the world to choose from. You'll notice the vehicles are painstakingly detailed and have authentic sound effects. They've got a worldwide community of over 70 million players and epic peer-to-peer battles. The equipment ranges from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. There's simply no game better suited for fans of military history like us. So head over to sign up on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox using the link in the description. For new and returning players that haven't played in the last 6 months, you'll get a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, an exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor, 7 days of premium, and much more. Just for a limited time only though. What all this should indicate to us—
Let me guess, you got the details of this Gatling missile defense from War Thunder forums? There you go.
Is that this is not a precision weapon. It's taking down drones by firing a wall of lead at the sky. Quantity of bullets flying can be a quality of its own. That's what they're going for here. Just from the looks of this thing, it does seem like it would be a pretty insane support by fire assist, and that's what China claims it doubles as. They've run demonstrations showing how the Gatling gun can be used as an anti-personnel mode by traversing the turret down to ground level and firing at opposing forces on the ground with it. So the weapon system has a high angle of elevation and depression, which is what my therapist said I have too. Wait, I need to see a replay of that. Look how the force from the recoil is pushing the vehicle back a few feet. It's because the 30mm cannon, if that's what's on there, has 10,000 pounds of force on it. That can't be great for accuracy. On the ground, the use of a high volume of fire...
30mm isn't the same as Warthog ammo? I mean, yeah, if you're going to use that kind of Gatling, right, yeah, there's going to be immense force there. I'm surprised they didn't like strengthen the suspension of that vehicle to accommodate that. It's like wobbling too much, right? I mean, sure, it'd be like harder to like, you know, actually ride the thing, but come on, it's not a commercial vehicle, right? If it's hard, but at least it doesn't wobble that much.
Your Gatling gun gives you a greater chance of winging an incoming drone, but your ability to sustain fire for longer periods of time is going to be hurt. It's a trade-off. Reloading a Gatling gun also takes a lot more time. Russia's similar Pantsir air defense weapon uses a Gatling gun too, and on that we know it likely carries 700 rounds per magazine, enough to let her rip for like 20 seconds. You can see the Soviet influence in this design. Gatling guns are also far chonkier than your autocannon, at about 620 pounds compared to 130 pounds, but supporting that heft is not a major problem for ground vehicles. The Type 625's Gatling gun reminds me of the old American Vulcan air defense system of the 1960s. More recently, the United States started experimenting with the C-RAM Gatling gun slapped onto the back of a truck, which serves a similar purpose but with a more advanced radar. But often Gatling guns are seen in aircraft. This is because they have a much higher rate of fire, spitting out more rounds per minute. No, like an ungodly amount more. Autocannons, for instance, fire like 200 rounds per minute, while Gatling guns fire 5,000. It's that spray and pray method, and it's useful for fast-moving aerial combat. I just have to mention the cursed design choice to, once again, because they did this with the VN-22, place the ejection port for its massive Gatling gun on the right side of the turret, directly above one of the vehicle exit hatches. I sure hope there's no reason to exit the vehicle through this hatch while the main gun is firing. I'll be right back, I'm just going outside the vehicle for a smoke real quick. Oh, it burns, it burns, it burns. However, this philosophy of air defense differs widely from the new American short-range air defense vehicle that uses a single-barrel 30mm cannon instead, because that slightly larger size allows for the airburst ammo. So a 30mm autocannon gives you about twice the standoff range at like 4 kilometers distance compared to that Gatling gun. Lower rate of fire, but they're aiming for precision in the United States. The decision to invest in this new platform is almost certainly inspired by...
I think you need advanced transistor and like overall computers to like have that kind of accuracy. Maybe China doesn't have that yet. So they're going for like, you know, like spray and pray technology. Like if it works type of way, right? A kilometer is like if you can take out a target like decent, let's just say 80% of target from a kilometer away, at least that's something.
By the increase in short-range air threats from small UAVs in modern combat from Ukraine to Nagorno-Karabakh. The platform is a symbol of China's ability to notice a modern change in warfare and then rapidly design and deploy a solution to react to it. Oftentimes, this is where I'll usually do the accent of a soldier from whatever nation we're specifically talking about, but I'm pretty sure if I did that here, that would be both a war and a hate crime. Wait a second, is it racist to not treat them the same and not do the accent? Oh no! Without these types of vehicles creating an umbrella defense for your tanks and infantry, they can't move forward, they're gonna get hit by drones. The second thing that caught my attention was the missile pods. That might have been the first thing that caught your eye. Guess it depends on whether or not you're like a missile guy or a gun guy. Either way, it appears to hold the FB series missiles that can reportedly engage low-flying air targets at a maximum range of about 10 kilometers and reach an altitude of anywhere between 15 meters to 5,000 meters. This uses an infrared radar dual-mode hybrid guidance system. This is similar to like your Stinger missiles seen on the American SHORAD vehicles like the Avenger. I know I often poke fun at China's equipment, but one of the things I like about this vehicle is that it has a capacity for 8 missiles. Originally, the new American SHORAD vehicle only had 4 anti-air missiles and 2 anti-tank missiles, but they recently changed that and decided to go with 8. Welcome to my slightly credible Chinese short-range air defense briefing. Thank you all for coming, please have a seat. Okay, slide 1. The People's Liberation Army is in many ways built different. They have a lot of different types of air defense systems all at once. China has at least a dozen different types of short-range air defense variants that they're experimenting on and selling at the same time. It's a little bit like throwing darts at the wall and watching to see what sticks, and what other countries want to buy. Okay, slide 2. For example, they also have been experimenting with the PGL-12 prototype, which uses a 35mm autocannon and has a shorter range 6km man-portable missile. But China redesigned the autocannon with a single barrel revolver that allows it to fire twice as fast at 1,000 rounds per minute for knocking down drones. This appears to be a copy of the German Skynex, which claims to be able to shoot down an entire drone swarm with one fell swoop. Alright, slide 3. However, the backbone of China's short-range air defense is currently the HQ-17A and the HQ-7AB. Okay, slide 4. What is their purpose in life? Given what we know about China's strategy, I think China would be prioritizing many of their short-range air defense assets for protecting their ground-to-ground missile launch sites. They have several hundred mobile missile platforms that they have stationed around the coast to fire at Taiwan or to fire at American naval ships to keep them far away.
I think it's not just about that, right? I mean,
To fire at.
yeah, it's not just about that now, is it? I mean, in the current Middle Eastern conflict, right, how like Iran launched so many drones and missile combination, right? Now, with the help of US and UK, obviously, they were like most of them taken down. But if you're gonna flex as a superpower, right, you need ability to shoot down drones and drone-like things, aerial things. This is the type of tech that does that. You need this, otherwise how are you a global power type of way, right? And the difference between China and USA is USA is mostly doing like all-rounder thing, trying to find a way so one thing can do a lot of job, like, you know, seamlessness. While China is going for like there's one thing for everything and just like stacking them up, right? I'm guessing that is one of the reasons why China's navy by number is larger than US now, because US is trying to integrate things like how one thing can do multiple jobs just for ease of access type of thing. Well, China is just like, you know, like there's going to be one thing for every job type of way. And I guess in US's case, it kind of makes sense because US has been in somewhat of a conflict war, somewhat for like century or so now, right? There is always something, so they can like, you know, trial and error. They can, you know, build things that one thing can do a lot of job. China hasn't been in war like that, right? So China doesn't know where their flaws gonna rise up. So if you have one thing for everything, even if something fails, it's not gonna compromise everything else. So there's one thing for everything type of way.
At Taiwan or to fire at American naval ships to keep them far away. Now, protecting these from American loitering munitions, drone strikes, and missiles would be their main purpose. Thank you for listening to this slightly credible briefing. If you have any questions, please raise your hands in the comment section and people smarter than me will answer them there. This, I believe, is a reflection of the different threats they anticipate encountering. The emphasis on more anti-air missiles by China could be because the United States relies very heavily on air power. The FB-10A anti-air missile is the most common missile depicted on the Type 625E, with 4 pods on each side. The ground-to-air missile first appeared in 2016 and was designed by China's aerospace Long March International Company. According to ArmyRecognition.com, the missile uses an advanced rolling projectile and infrared dual-mode composite guidance system, which can intercept anti-ship missiles at 4 times the speed of sound. The video taken from the weapons operator screen in the Type 625 shows the targeting system tracking and destroying multiple flying UAVs. There was also this release footage that appears to show the Type 625E capable of targeting, firing, and destroying its small UAVs while driving on the move. But take that with a grain of salt, like any information here that's from the CCP. The vehicle sports 2 radars mounted on the top of the gun turret. One is for searching for targets, the other is for tracking targets, and then there's a third piece, the optoelectrical tracking system. At the center, a large plate that can be raised, lowered, and rotates 360 degrees. This acts as the detection radar to identify threats. Radar is an extremely important element for short-range air defense, so however effective it's going to be will make a huge difference overall. Do we have any way of getting an idea of its performance? One hint comes from looking at the export equipment from China that they're already sending out, like the KLJ-7A aircraft and its radar performance, which is roughly on par with an over decades-old F-16 radar. For example, it's said to have about 60% less detection range than a modern Russian system. Limitations on precise radar tracking could explain why they're going with a Gatling gun volume of fire approach as their best bet. This is an optical location station and a tracking radar to help aim the weapon systems that rest on either side. This includes thermal and infrared sensing, according to China. You can clearly see one of the radars on top that looks like an LED panel or a solar array panel. Reports on the type of 625E estimates this collective radar system has a 12 to 15 kilometer total range, which is just enough for its weapon systems. However, air defense vehicles rarely deploy in isolation. Ideally, this vehicle would be data linked into a larger air defense network. Essentially, you get to see what other sensors in your area of operations can see as well. This would ultimately give the crew situational awareness well beyond the vehicle's own internal capabilities. As a general point of reference, the open source information I've looked at suggests that the CCP's radar search and track capabilities are currently a decade behind the Russian systems that they were based on, although we won't know for certain until they're actually combat tested. We have to keep in mind that this is part of—
You are kidding me, that decade behind, that's like, okay. At least they're like moving in the same general direction, right? Even, Americans F-35 is like, was built around this, right? That, its radar can communicate with other things, and then overall everything from the ground to the sky, even satellite, everything can communicate with each other and paint a picture. Because apparently we have like strong enough computers to do that. China is moving in the same direction, I guess.
Of a layered air defense. This is mainly tasked, this one specifically, for short-range support of infantry and tanks. This is a theater-level asset. It's organic to platoons, moving to create a defensive umbrella for them. So whereas the US appears to be geared towards keeping standoff from enemy tanks, this appears to be geared to stop enemy infantry and helicopters. It's a slightly different approach to short-range air defense, and the different emphasis on capabilities reveals how China plans to fight with more volume and capacity, and possibly less close range to tanks being expected. If you're a former Chinese soldier watching this and you can confirm or deny that, please leak that information to me on our Discord server, the link's in the description. Remember, it's not treason if you don't make eye contact. There are similarities that jump out to me on this new vehicle. It uses the foundation to other Chinese vehicles. The 8-wheeled chassis appears to be taken from the Type 08 armored personnel carrier infantry fighting vehicle. If this is the case, the decision to refit a pre-built chassis cuts both the time and cost that comes from developing a foundation from scratch. Notice the large cabin windows for the driver. This indicates that the vehicle is not intended to endure the same level of combat intensity as heavier armored platforms like tanks or infantry fighting vehicles. It's unusual to see windows in an armored vehicle like this. For instance, American designs like the Stryker typically do not feature open windows like this. On the other hand, it does give you greater visibility of what's going on outside. The rear compartment of the vehicle has what appear to be the vehicle captain and gunner seats. The gunner sits closest to the rear window with a large screen and joystick to control the turret and weapon systems. These two, along with the driver and
yes. Somebody recently in the comments told me like China is not communist, hasn't been communist. I'm like, it's in the name, CCP. It's like, name doesn't matter. Like, okay, I don't know what you mean by communist or what you, if you mean like they've adopted somewhat of a free market, of course they did, right? That's the thing, right? They didn't do the Iron Curtain thing that Russia did. But that's not enough to not call them communist, right? Even in this video, look at that, like all the shells that are ejected is at the same place where the hatch opens, like screw the people, right? Same thing with the windows, like, Americans are not giving window because what if the soldiers, they're like, soldiers, another one, right? Just like DJ Khaled, another one, like who cares, window, there you go. Visibility is important, task is important, right? It's all about the, end goal, country, nation first before like any individual humans or something. Communism always somewhat leads to that. So yeah.
Driver in the front of the cabin, bring the crew to at least 4 while we don't know for sure what the total count is for the crew. The Type 625E is not amphibious. Given that it uses what appears to be a Type 08 foundation, it could reach comparable max speeds of about 100 kilometers per hour and have an 800 kilometer range. However, weight differences due to its large weapon systems could limit these performance stats. Moving to the armor, currently the Type 625E lacks explosive reactive or cage armor, at least at the moment, instead appearing only to come equipped with 8 smoke launchers and a turret for defense. You could expect that a vehicle designed to hunt drones on the front lines would have more protective measures built into the design, but to give it the benefit of the doubt, this is not a deployed vehicle that we're looking at. This likely provides protection from small arms fire up to 50 caliber machine gun. The Type 625E is primarily designed to fit into China's layered air defense systems as sort of a last resort. SHORAD stands for Short Range Air Defense. You're going to hear it a lot recently. And it's one of the last lines of defense in a layered air defense system. And then there is VSHORAD, which stands for Very Short Range Air Defense. But at that point, I think it's best to just run. China's current primary SHORAD vehicle is the HQ-17, which comes in a variety of tracked and wheeled models without direct fire guns. This vehicle carries up to 16 of the 9M330 surface-to-air missiles with a range of about 12 kilometers and a top altitude of 6,000 meters. Compared to the HQ-17, the Type 625E appears to be better armored and more capable of surviving in a non-permissive hostile environment. Its rapid-fire Gatling gun is also going to be better defense than a vehicle with limited missiles against swarms of small drones. However, the HQ-17 is not China's only direct-fire anti-air weapon system in its arsenal. You've also got your Type 95 SPA, which comes equipped with 4 25mm autocannons and 4 QW2 infrared
Hold up there. Did that guy just screamed while the weapon was firing? Like, okay.
surface-to-air missiles. Despite also having guns, the speed and agility of drones on today's battlefield better warrant an equally fast direct-fire gun. That's the kind of quality you get with the 5,000 rounds per minute Type 625E. This is why I think some Norinco military vehicles don't make it past the functional prototype phase, and they're just one-off showcase models. But we might see a variant of this system filling the ranks of the PLA soon. And to that point, the E at the end of its title for the vehicle likely means that once the final testing is complete, the system will primarily be marketed as a foreign export. So it's possible this is not for China's military themselves, but to make cold hard cash instead, or as a demo vehicle. According to the Economic Times, Chinese military sales have decreased by around...
Look, I'm not gonna lie, I would not buy something if they themselves are not using it, right? Like, okay, anybody makes a weapon, or like, do you want this weapon? It's a great weapon. Are you using it? No, we have something else. Why the fuck would I buy it? Like, why would I trust it at all? Like, look at the demonstration, look at how it performs. I don't care. You're not using it, right? So I'm not gonna trust it.
Around 25% in the last 10 years. Could the Type 625 be another flashy looking vehicle that's meant to dazzle potential customers? As of right now, I couldn't find any evidence directly online of potential customers, although the sheer amount of featured videos and articles produced by Chinese sources indicate that the manufacturers really want to hype this project up. Wait a second, am I just doing free advertising for Norinco? No, Chris, that's stupid. Don't think that. Just don't think. That's better. Now get back to what you do. A year before the Type 625E debuted in 2000.
You're in capitalist America, man, right? Free market. You're supposed to think about yourself first, even if you like promote it. If somebody else also gets benefit or something, there you go. It's fine. It's all fine. You can't pick and choose. Come on. Also a form of journalism. Why not?
2022. The CS-SA5 appeared in a 2021 Chinese air show. You can see several of these variants here, wrapped with a red bow as a surprise for Xi Jinping's birthday. But when I ask for SHORAD vehicles for my birthday, all I get is a Sea-Whiz in the back of a Toyota. But what's the closest US direct equivalent?
That is the coolest shit of all time. Back of Toyota, that automated, like, even the plane glows up like, whoop, just suddenly it starts to target.
To the Type 625E. That's your 20mm Sea-Whiz. If you think China was being lazy by repurposing their Type 08 chassis, think again. The non-creatives over at Raytheon essentially took a flatbed truck, made it look tactical with some tan paint, and slapped a Sea-Whiz on the back. They just bolted it on there. Despite its utterly unlethal looks, putting a Sea-Whiz on the back of a flatbed might be a pretty effective SHORAD weapon. Unlike the Type 625E, there's virtually no protective armor or personal defensive weapons that accompany this. This semi-truck of death is designed to operate in a relatively secure environment or deploy with sufficient protection to operate without the need to provide its own security. It's just boozy like that. After what we've observed on the battlefields...
Yeah, so basically this is equivalent to in Fallout. If you make some kind of a settlement, just putting some kind of a shed or like some board and then putting a turret on top of it. This is equivalent of that. There you go.
In Ukraine, drone warfare at the tactical level is sure to accompany any conflict in the future. The regular grunts are going to have to consider the threats that those small flying grenades pose to them every day they're deployed on the front lines. With this in mind, China and the United States are appearing to take slightly different approaches on how they plan to protect their troops from this threat. U.S. Army artillery branch is going through a radical transformation right now based on what's happening in Ukraine, getting rid of towed artillery, for instance. If you want to learn more, click this video in the corner of the screen. Thanks again to War Thunder, and as a reminder, for new and returning players that haven't played in at least
yeah, we'll go to original video page link from there. Suppose this channel, War Thunder. Yeah, I think everybody knows about War Thunder by now, right? Yeah. I think that, forum thing just gave them a great publicity, right? War Thunder forums, there you go. Like, even people who didn't know about War Thunder, like, they're gonna know about War Thunder. Before I was confused, like, wait a minute, what is that? There's a tank one, now there's like War Thunder, there's, what is it, World of Tanks. But now I know what a War Thunder is and what a World of Tank is. Like, War Thunder just like, yeah, is one of the things now famous. Well, that was China's Gatling missile air defense is a nightmare. I mean, yeah, this is becoming a big thing, right? People are making, major powers are making. If you don't have something like this, you're not a major power, right? Because small drones is becoming much larger, like small Amazon style drones, which is like cost nothing. Just strapping a simple bomb on top of it, like what happened in Ukraine. People are going to take note of that. So they're going to create some kind of a scatter type guns who just like spray and pray. You need that. Because imagine there's small 15 and 20 drones coming towards your way. How are you going to target that? So spray and pray is kind of like a better way of doing it. I don't know. Well, if you like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.